Welcome back to another episode of TA with MK. My name is MK, and in today's episode we are going to discuss the amazing price action that is Bitcoin and its love for the theatrics, the excitement. Just kidding, actually, just pure sideways. Pretty much what we've been getting for quite some time. The market is rather boring, but we will discuss, at the end of this video, briefly at least, the two levels that I'm watching as far as to turn bullish or bearish. Already I'm bearish, obviously, overall in the midterm, and I've mentioned that plenty in the last several videos, but what I mean for that is as far as accumulating bigger positions, whether that's shorts or longs. Right now I'm mostly just doing super short-term trades, which I'll also discuss in today's video. But as far as the two levels go, that's just levels I'm looking at as far as regaining key support or losing key support on a weekly time frame. Now, if you guys are liking the content, please remember to like and subscribe, and let's go. It's TA with MK. It's TA with MK. Alright, as much as it pains me, we're going to start out quickly on the SPX, or the S&P 500, and the reason why I say it pains me is I was hoping we'd get a little bit better rally today. If we hop over here to a chart for the company Target, this is happening with a lot of different companies and a lot of stocks in general. This is obviously a national retailer, very large company. But you see something like this, and this is the kind of effect that inflation's having on our economy and on some of our, biggest companies, and why they're having such a hard time with their, why the stocks in general are going down. Things like this. So they had their quarterly earning report yesterday, and it came out that, of course, it was, underperformed according to what Wall Street expected. It says right here, the company's shares fell nearly 25% and hit a 52-week low. Its market cap, which was at $99.82 billion after the time of closing on Tuesday, fell to about $75 billion on Wednesday. So, we're looking at almost $25 billion, dropping off of their market cap just in one single day. So if you think the big companies' stocks can't move the same way, crypto or Bitcoin moves, think again, right? And this is just bad sentiment. And this is all directly related to inflation. They had higher costs due to gas, fuel, all sorts of things. I won't get into that. But if you just look here, look at this drop. Obviously, the way this is showing you right now, there's this gap. But basically, you went from clear up here at, 212 points or whatever they started the day at, clear down here to 151 points. Now, they're at support. Question is, do people look at this as, okay, just a big sell-off? But now that we're down here at the support level, are people going to potentially accumulate there? Or is this just the beginning of a bigger downtrend for them? Obviously, time will tell. If we hop back over to the SPX, clearly what we need for any sort of upside ideas or any bullish ideas to have any chance of playing out is if you kind of zoom back, on this is the 1 hour chart, but let's just look at the last time that the S&P had any sort of a relief bounce. They usually begin with double bottoms, right? It's one of your most common bottoming patterns. You see this little double bottom. It was also essentially in somewhat of a falling channel. Not perfect by any means, but more or less lower highs, lower lows, right? And it had this double bottom, and it was finally able to go on a little rally. Even broke out and pushed higher. Altogether from that double bottom, this last rally saw about 11%, right? So then if you kind of fast forward over here to price action today, I'm not saying this will happen because we could easily break lower and go another leg lower, back to lower support before we then try to double bottom. But more or less, if we want to see any bullish upside, out of Bitcoin, out of stocks, and then of course Bitcoin will follow and our altcoins will follow, we really need this to confirm a double bottom. Push higher. Be nice if we could at least push to the top of this trend line tomorrow. Doesn't mean we break out right then. Maybe we come back down, and then break out, test, and push higher. But that's kind of what I'm watching for on the SPX. Now, with Bitcoin being such chop city recently, obviously we're waiting, on the larger time frames for Bitcoin to decide what direction it wants to go, whether it's going to lose key support, down around 29,000, or whether it's going to break out, and we'll look at a quick chart in a minute to kind of go over just two levels that I'm basically watching as far as any sort of midterm plans. But everything else I'm doing right now, if I'm trading at all, is just short-term, zoomed-in type stuff, which obviously is hard to share on a YouTube video because it won't really be relevant by the time most viewers watch it. But once again, that's why I leave the link in the description for my brand new Telegram trading group that you can come in and kind of see some of the the charts that we're putting out and some of the ideas that we're sharing on the shorter time frames. Like, for example, this is just Bitcoin on the 15-minute, which is where I've been spending a lot of my time lately. If you hop over to Telegram right here, here's a chart that I posted yesterday. in which I put 15-minute short-term analysis. We also don't want to be late to the bear party. With how fast the 3x tokens move, and what I mean by that is the tokens that I've talked about in previous videos on KuCoin. I said I'm watching this 15-minute trend line for a break, then a higher low, potential inverse head and shoulder at that point to flip long, or a break of support around 28,650 to go short. So I shared that analysis, fast forward to the chart, today, and you can see clearly that broke out, boom, boom, boom. I even discussed the idea of an inverse head and shoulders, and the reason why I could almost, see that playing out before it even did is that typically when you get a breakout of a trend line like this, right, what you're looking for at that point is either a double bottom or a higher low. I already had the double bottom down here. I already could kind of see good structure back here with the left shoulder, what looked like it could be a head once this broke out. So then what I was looking for my signal to go long was essentially just a higher low, which eventually became your right shoulder. At that point, you could start DCing into long positions, which we've done in the group. But really, what you also want to see at that point is a break of this neckline and a retest. Boom, boom. There was the retest. We got some good short-term trades at that point, especially on some of the lower, cap altcoins that there are on KuCoin. Now, we're over here on the Bitcoin weekly chart, and why I mentioned that I'm only trading short-term at the moment and zoomed into the 15-minute time frames is when you're zoomed out on looking at it from a bigger picture perspective, we're in what I call no man's land. And what I mean by that is we're waiting for Bitcoin to either lose key support or regain key support. And I'm personally only really looking at two levels. One level is around 31,700, and the reason behind that is you look back here when we first broke above all that, broke above 31K. These two candles closed above that, and then when we had our bottom last year back in July, before we had the big rally to the all-time high, right, before this crazy rally, the candles here, the two in a row, even though there was wicks below, the candles themselves, for the weekly anyway, closed above right around 31,700, right? Now, the lower side of this, where all these wicks came down to, wick, right? This candle this week that's bouncing right now, wick to the same level, and that level is around 28,700. So the way I look at it is we're watching the weekly, which of course will close on Sunday. If we at some point close a body of a candle below that level of 28,700, and then of course bearish retest it, at that point I'd be looking for a move back down around between 20K and these moving averages, the 200 weekly moving averages that are around 22K, right? So I'd be looking for some sort of a move, and it'd probably be a fast, swift free fall at that point. And then on the bullish side, going back to that 31,700, we really need to break back above, flip that as support, and then you can kind of imagine that we're in somewhat of a falling wedge here, right? And so then at that point, you could expect us to push up and, maybe test this upper trend line or at least get close. And where would that put us, somewhere between, right, that level right there be about 37K, which I mentioned in a previous video, to me would be the best rally I could expect us to have. More realistically, probably between 34 and 35K. So ultimately, unless you're a more experienced trader, if you're just kind of a mid to, long-term hodler, and you're just looking for the right times to buy and not have to stare at charts all day, right now is not the time. That's what I will say. It is definitely no man's land in my eyes. We're either looking to lose key support, and then, trend lower to lower support and then see what happens at that point, or we're looking to regain key support, right? As of right now, at least on the weekly time frames, we're kind of just sideways, essentially. We'll keep you guys posted. I'll come out with a video in the next day or two that kind of goes over my strategy for the upcoming weeks and months. More zoomed out than what I've talked about in the last few videos. And if you guys are liking the content, please remember to like and subscribe. We'll catch you tomorrow. It's TAwithMMK.